India is one of my favorite countries, and one of the reasons is because it's so cheap, and it allows you to stretch your dollar in so many directions you won't know what to do with it. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience in India for 2 months and how cheap it was for me, and I'm going to give you some real-life examples from when I was there. The food is one of the best parts about India, and it's also very, very cheap. So I did this little challenge when I was in Udaipur. Welcome to Udaipur, India, where I'm starting my $20 travels. So I tried to spend $20 for the day, and it was actually ambitious to try to spend that in a day walking around the city. I took to the streets where one plate of food on the street cost me 50 cents or less. I had about 10 dishes before I couldn't fit anything else in my stomach. And then there's chai, which is a staple of Indian cuisine. Chai is tea, and the way they make it, it kind of seems more of a mix of tea and coffee. So if you're a coffee drinker and you're going to India, you might just kind of switch over from coffee for a little while to do the chai thing while you're there. Typically, a chai will cost 10 rupees, or around 14 or 15 cents. So the food is so cheap. If you get street food, you're going to be spending less than $1. If you go to restaurants, slightly nicer places, you might be spending $3 to $5 on a meal. So transportation in India. So as you can see from this street view, you have a ton of options when it comes to transportation in India. You have rickshaws, which are the bicycles, and then auto rickshaws, which you might know as tuk-tuks, and those are everywhere. Regular taxis, you have Uber, which is also very cheap. You have budget airlines, overnight sleeper buses, and a bunch of different classes of trains. So since you're a tourist, when you're about to get in one of these rickshaws, you're most likely going to get a tourist price. I mean, 100% you're going to get a tourist price. So you're going to have to haggle a little bit and get the price down if it seems steep. But even if you don't do that, it's still going to be cheap. Usually the price they give you at the beginning, it's probably going to be cheap for you if you're coming from a Western country. It's just that locals will probably pay 5 times less. But you can always make their day and pay them the tourist price if you have the money. Make their day. I'm sure it really helps them out. So typically if you get a rickshaw ride across the city, something that takes 20-30 minutes, you're going to be paying maybe $1 or $2. And then when you want to go from city to city and travel all across India, you can use sleeper buses. I actually really like these sleeper buses, and there are different classes. But typically these rides, when you're going from city to city, they're going to take from 8 hours to 15 hours because India is a huge country. And even with that, look at some of these prices. So first, 380 rupees, that's about $5. Alright, so that's going from one city to another, Udaipur to Jodhpur. 300 rupees, so that's about $4.20. Jodhpur to Jaisalmer. Next, 945. This one was a little more expensive, which comes out to around $13. This was a 12-hour overnight sleeper bus, and I was in one of the nicer ones. You even have a few choices usually when you're booking these buses. You have between 10 and 20 of these buses. You can pick different times of day, different buses. You can look at pictures and all that. So this was one of the more expensive ones where I wanted a nicer one, so that's why it's $13. Alright, so I would take these Uber rides, and because of traffic in India and how far things are apart, sometimes it would take an hour to get somewhere. And look at my receipts. Alright, so 100 rupees, that's about $1.40. That probably was an hour-long drive. 121 rupees, which is around $1.70. 148 rupees, and this is about exactly like a $2 ride. And I was probably in that Uber for an hour and a half. And then 73 rupees, which is pretty much exactly $1. So rickshaws are very cheap, but you're gonna get the tourist prices when you're doing that. But if you get Uber, you're gonna get the local prices. So rickshaws are a lot of fun, and you'll have to do that a few times so you can get that experience. But once you've done that a few times, try taking Uber a little bit. You'll get more comfort, you'll get away from the air quality and the pollution, and it's a very, very cheap option. And really quick, I took one flight on a budget airline when I was in India, and this is what it looked like. 4,456 rupees. So accommodation in India is always a fun experience. You never really know what to expect. But one thing you can't expect is that it can be very cheap. So you have the hostel dorm rooms that can start as low as $1. My average was around $4 a night, but I wasn't picking the very cheapest option. So then there's fun, and fun includes events, concerts, tours. So in India, many things are very cheap, but if you start doing tours, they will be a little more expensive, but still not that expensive. So let me give you a few examples. So this was my camel safari in Jaisalmer. This was one of the best parts of my trip. And it took the full day, and then I got to sleep in the desert. We had dinner in the desert. So it was a full day of activities. That only cost around $20. And then the Taj Mahal, I know you know what that is, and you're going to go, right? So the Taj Mahal for foreigners costs around $15. And then there are so many things going on in India all the time. There are festivals and events, and so there are events like the Pushkar Camel Fair. I was there for a few days, and that was free, and I got to see one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. So overall, my average day in India would go something like this. Wake up in my $3 hostel dorm room. Get breakfast for free, included with my dorm room. Take a rickshaw somewhere interesting for around $2. Get some street food for less than $1. Have dinner and a lassi for $3. And Uber back home for around $1. So that makes my average day in India cost somewhere between $9 and $12. That's an average day. So let me give you a second scenario. I did have days where it was more like this. Wake up in a $1 hostel. Get free breakfast. Walk to my destination of the day. Get street food for 10 cents. Get another street food dish for 10 cents. Get another street food dish for about 20 cents. Walk back to my hostel and go to bed. So that makes some of my days in India only cost about $2. So before you get too excited, let me give you the third scenario and another way that I would travel occasionally, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. So if I wanted to pamper myself, I would wake up in a private room for about $12, $13. Then I would get breakfast for around $4, go on a tour or a camel safari for $20, tip the guide around $5, and then get back home for $0. So in this scenario, it makes my trip around $40 for the day. So as you can see, you have a complete spectrum there, where you can have your days where you're only spending $1 or $2 the whole day, and then typically maybe around $10 a day in India, and then you'll have the days where you want to do more stuff, and maybe it could be $30, $40 a day. But for me, like I said, typically $8 to $12 per day in India, on a budget, but not really trying too hard. There's a budget for every kind of person, so if you want to go to India, just do it, because India is the place where you can travel if you don't have much money. Alright, ask me questions below, leave some comments what you thought about this, and let me know if you have any questions about what certain things might cost that I didn't cover in this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Hit subscribe to follow the adventure, because I'm traveling all over the world and I'm sharing it all with you. And then click one of these videos to keep watching. Thanks.